What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. How's it going, everyone? Nice to see you here at the beginning of the work week, Monday. And we got some things to talk about. I want to say thank you to everyone that's been subscribing to Two Gun Pixie. It's so amazing that you're doing that. You go over and you click that subscribe and the notification bell, and you check out what we're doing. Just like everyone that's been going over and checking out to see what we do over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That is so very cool that you do that. And we also have a Two Gun Pixie Zazzle store where we sell some of our merch, our nerd-inspired and RPG-inspired goofiness, craziness, funny things that just made us laugh or chuckle. Like this. So thank you very much, everyone that's been going over and taking a look, even if you haven't bought anything. It's nice that you just spent a couple minutes of your time to take a look. That really is so cool. Alright, so for today's Tabletop Takeout Tuesday, I wanted to talk to you about a series, a game series, part of a company series, the flagship of the company, so to speak. And if you're interested in the popularity of this, and you're a board gamer and you haven't dove into this yet, I'm here to tell you what you can expect, and even what you might like. What am I talking about? A beginner's guide to the Tiny Epic series. If you're looking to pick some of these games up, you might want to check out this video. I'll see you all down at the table. Gamelin Games, along with game developer Michael Coe and game designer Scott Alms, have been consistently giving out fantastic games in their Tiny Epic series. You may not be familiar with these games, you may know some of them, you may not know any of them. But if you enjoy tabletop games, then you need to know about these games and what is out already, and this series is just going to continue to grow. And the beautiful thing about this is, with a couple of exceptions, they're all standalone games. There's only a few that actually have a second box as an expansion. So it's not like you're building upon your need to get all the other games to have a complete set. No, they all stand out on their own, actually. These games, in general, and if this differs specifically for a game, I'll point that out. But generally speaking, going into this, understand that Tiny Epic games usually play 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and in most cases they take anywhere from a half hour to an hour to get through. Now, Tiny Epic, the two words, the phrase, Tiny Epic, is defined by Gamelin Games as something that has 6 specific categories. Easy entry, which means their rules are not complicated. It's easy to learn and easy to teach, and therefore easy to get into the game. Also, high strategy is another point. These games, although having certain factors of luck involved in them through cards and or dice, are really designed to be played and ultimately won as strategic games. You can't rely on luck. You have to know what you're doing and prepare to constantly change your strategy. Low downtime. Now, this point I really love, because one of the biggest problems with multiplayer games is downtime between the players. Especially when you get more than 3, sometimes downtime can really lose a person's interest in what you're playing, no matter how great of a game that is. And these games are designed to have low downtime from one turn to the next for you. By the time you know it, it's back to you, and you didn't really have time to lose interest. which you shouldn't do in a good game anyway, but sometimes when you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, it happens. Short playtime. This is a key point. This is one of the key 6 points. Short playtime. None of these games, once you know the rules and you're just playing through the game, none of these games should take you more than an hour and maybe plus a little change, maybe. That's it. If you're not, like I often do, shooting a video, and during the video I explain the rules, or try to while I'm going through it, it will extend game time. If you're just learning the game and you have to refer back to the rules, that will extend game time. But once you know the game and you're just playing to play, yeah, these games should end anywhere in like 45 to 60 minutes in most cases. High replayability is another selling point of Tiny Epic. And of all the games I've played, which is all the Tiny Epics currently on the market right now, I have to admit, every single one of them not only plays different, but to a certain degree will even feel different from game to game. So I agree that these games do have high replayability. And the last point is a small box. Easy to carry, easy to bring around, easy to get to the table because of that. And I like that. The boxes are good and sturdy, they're small, and they do travel well. So I think that every one of the 6 points that Gamelin Games uses to define Tiny Epic, I agree with. So if you're new or you don't know all the titles that are currently out, this is the list you've been waiting for. Now, this is not my top list. This is not my favorite list. I'll be coming up with one of those. But for right now, this is just the list of the Tiny Epic games. And because this is the way I shelf things, I'm going to deliver this list by theme, by genre. And we'll start with sci-fi. Tiny Epic Galaxies is one of the games that has a second expansion box. There's only 3 right now that do that, and this is one of them. So the base game, Tiny Epic Galaxies, by itself, this game normally plays 1 to 5 players, not 1 to 4. Now, in Tiny Epic Galaxies, what you're doing is you are the commander of your own galaxy, and you are sending your ships out to go find other planets, claim them, either through economy and diplomacy style, or just by taking them. And by doing this, you are increasing your own status, your own energy levels, and you are getting certain perks that come with these planets that you can invoke during the course of the game. And this is all done through the symbols and icons on the dice. You're rolling the dice, and depending on what those faces on the dice are, tell you what your action options are for that turn. I really like the way it divides out what you can do that way. But another thing I like about this game is that when you play the solo version, it really does feel like its own game, a different game, because it doesn't play exactly the same. And I respect the fact that they were able to rework the rules enough to make that so. That actually did mean a lot. Now, the expansion, Beyond the Black, they added 3 very interesting things. Now, me and the 20-Sided Warriors have said this over and over again, and we're always in agreement with this, that Beyond the Black feels like it's so seamless it could have just been part of the base game. But then it wouldn't have all fit inside the small box. Alright, what this game does is it adds 3 interesting points to the game. And Beyond the Black, it's going to add specific pilots, specific characters with names, and each with their own ability that they can do. And some of them can only fly certain of the new advanced starships, which is another new point of this game. Instead of just the generic ships that you're sending out, you can get the chance to get certain pilots who are skilled in flying one of the 4 new advanced ships. And lastly, as the title implies, Beyond the Black, it adds on more and a deeper sense of exploration as you are literally going beyond the black of space. You are going, well, beyond, really. That's the best word for it, which is why they named it that. And that adds such a really cool, interesting, almost Star Trek-y feel to the game. And honestly, I can't really think of playing Tiny Epic Galaxies without Beyond the Black just in it, because as I said earlier, it's just so seamless, absolutely seamless, beautifully so. Now, Tiny Epic Mechs is another sci-fi game that they have, and this uses item meeples. Now, it's not the first game of theirs that has done that. They did that in a couple of others that are coming up that I'll discuss when they come up. But what they did was they added a new twist on the item meeples for this sci-fi tactical combat game. And not only are you able to put items, clip them into the meeple's hands or back, but you actually have powered armor that you can put these meeples in. And the armor itself has little peg holes for you to be able to put items in, like shields and energy swords and sci-fi crossbows and missile launchers and automatic weapons and whatever else you want to put on a powered mech. And that isn't even the powered ones. Those are just the minor mech armors. There's one power mech armor in this game. It's like twice the size of the regular mech suits that you plug the meeples into. And it looks so cool. I mean, aesthetically, it really does. It just leaps right out of the table as you're playing this tile game. That's what it is. You're laying tiles down. And more so than most of their other games, this is just a complete battle royale is what it is. It's everyone for themselves. You get to pick your pilot, and that's who you're starting the game with. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to get some mech armor on, and then if you really get lucky, you'll battle your way all the way to the center of the arena and claim the one and only giant power armor and just try to wipe everyone off the arena floor. Now, there's a third game, for the time being anyway, currently considering a sci-fi game, that is on Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's already over. It has already been completed, funded, and by the time this drops, depending on what's going on everywhere, it should be shipping out to backers by April. And that's Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. This is set in modern times, but it's sci-fi because you're genetically creating dinosaurs. And that's pretty sci-fi to me. Yeah, it does sound like something else, doesn't it? It sounds like two other things, actually. It sounds like Dinosaur Iron. What was that? And it also sounds like Dinosaur Park. What? Who said that? But in this game, the sole purpose of this game is the creation of the dinosaurs. There's no park that you're going to put them in. There's no resources that way, sort of. This is really, they're saying, all about just the genetic creation of said dinosaurs. So I backed it. I'm waiting to get my hands on it because I think it's going to be fun. So Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. Now, Game on Games has dipped their toes in another theme, another genre, and that is the Wild West. Cowboys, Indians, that sort of thing. Unforgiven. Tombstone. And that is simply called Tiny Epic Westerns. Now, this game isn't about the shootouts in the OK Corral, although shootouts can happen in the game. This is about something very, very important that sometimes gets overlooked in the mythology and the actual history of the Old West. And that's the building of America, building of the Old West, buying up land, bringing in industry, building things up. And this game does a fantastic job of capturing that feel in the Old West setting, of being as corrupt or honest as you want to be, a boss, a landowner, coming in and doing your best to shape this town and moving forward the rest of this new birthing country of America into the vision you want to have. And that's the vision that will financially and victory point-wise be to the best advantage of you. This is, ever since I first played this game, it has been one of my favorite Tiny Epic games, and it still holds up. It's still ranked in the top. You want to know what that ranking is? Well, that's going to be another video. That is the only game they have in the Western theme. They also did a one-theme jump, so to speak, into horror. Tiny Epic Zombies. A game of brutal survival, as they call it. Oh. For this game, they decided to use several different play styles that are available to you. And I think that's one of the reasons why they launched as a 5-player game, because one of those ways to play is 1 versus all. So you have 4 hero players and 1 zombie master player who gets to manipulate the zombies and place them out when they come out, sort of where he or she wants, in order to heighten the strategy of, well, zombifying the humans. Which is another really fun, great aspect of this game, is the human you are playing could get infected and turn into a zombie. And the card is literally flipped over to the zombie side and given to the zombie master player, who is then able to use this zombie against the players now. And that is a lot of fun. That, you know, writing a game like that, I mean, that is a fun rule. So if you're looking for a Tiny Epic game for any time of the year, but maybe specifically, you know, around Halloween or Day of the Dead or something, check out Tiny Epic Zombies. Now, the last 6 games currently out at the time of the filming of this, the last 6 games all fall into the fantasy realm. So obviously you can see that that is where Gamelin Games' Tiny Epic series heart really lies. Tiny Epic Quest. Now, unlike the other games that usually have a runtime of 30 to 60 minutes or 45 minutes to 60, this doesn't really have a downtime. This is pretty much at least 60 minutes, though they don't advertise much longer than that. Now, Tiny Epic Quest is one of the games, there's a couple, it is one of the Gamelin Games that uses item meeples, as I mentioned earlier, with Tiny Epic Mechs. And it looks so fun because of that. I really do like looking at the meeple and seeing that it has an actual physical 3D representation of a card I just got. If I got a magic bow, or panpipes, or shovel, or stein, there's the attachment for it, and it goes right into my meeple's hand, and that looks really cool. Now, although this is a fantasy game, this isn't quite a dungeon delve, sort of a world exploration in a sense, because there's armies of goblins that are spilling out, and you need to go on certain quests in order to find certain things that you need and complete these quests, and woohoo, you will win the game and be the savior of the land. And aesthetically speaking, there's a nice little touch for the items, for the item meeples. It has this really, it looks cool. It has this really nice little 3D stand that they sit on. So instead of just being a pile on your table, they're actually on a stand, on an A-frame stand, like they're being sold or something. And you just, you know, just come over and just plop it right off and then put it onto you. I like that. It's a small touch, but I like it. Tiny Epic Tactics. This is, in a sense, it is kind of like a fantasy version of Tiny Epic Mechs, in the sense that it is a tactical combat game. This is an all versus all, generally speaking, although in this game you can play 2 teams of 2 as well. There's even a battle mode where you can rearrange and change the 3D setting. The 3D setting, that's right, this has a 3D setting for this board game. Because you see, there is no tray for the box of this game. It has a series of small boxes that hold everything in, and the boxes can be flipped over and are terrain, 3D terrain for the cloth board of the game. And much like Tiny Epic Galaxies, if you play this solo, it's technically a different game. It uses different rules, different enough that you feel like you are playing a separate game. And in that one, you are doing dungeon delving. And in that case, the boxes you were just using for the 3D effect, you flip them over, and that's where the inside of the dungeons are. Oh, it is so cool, so cool. Your four fantasy characters, one fighter, one wizard, one rogue, and one beast person, versus another player's 4. It's awesome. Tiny Epic Kingdoms, the second edition. I've never played the first, though. I didn't read a lot of great things about the first, which is why they came out with the second. And it seemed like a lot of people that didn't like the first were happy or happier with the second edition rules. Now, normally, Tiny Epic Kingdoms does not play a solo game like most of the others do. But if you get the expansion Heroes Call, that does have solo game rules that are in it. Now, this game is a 4X game. Tiny Epic Kingdoms is flat out a 4X game of explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. That is what you are doing. You choose a race. You choose literally a race from this game. From orcs and goblins to centaurs to humans, dwarves. There's a plethora of different races, factions, species in this game. And you choose the one that you want to build their empire for. And that's literally what you are doing in this game. You are building their empire. You are expanding the empire. You are exploring the lands around, exploiting the people and the goods that are there, and exterminating anyone that gets in your way. Now, the Heroes Call expansion, that's going to be adding a few different things. So it will give you more factions, those races, species I was mentioning. We'll give you more of those. There's a couple of new mechanics into the game, and as I said, the solo play. But the big thing is the hero cards that you are able to recruit, promote, and then retire these heroes. And that does add another level to the game that, much like Tiny Epic Galaxies with Beyond the Black, makes Heroes Call feel like it could have, should have, if only there was room in the box, been part of the original second edition of Tiny Epic Kingdoms. Now, the last two fantasy games on this list, game and its expansion, is Tiny Epic Defenders, a fantasy cooperative game, as it's called. Now, just like the other game that called for a hard 60 minutes, this calls for a hard 30. About 45, I would actually say. Now, in this game, the specific heroes that you are playing have jobs of defending the land, because there are monstrosities that are trying to destroy the land itself, and you got to prevent that. It's like an RPG in the sense that you are going to be able to get loot, find treasure, and much of that is going to be better gear and probably magical. So that makes a big difference in this, because it really gives a good, hard, specific reason for your meeple to have this item in it, making it an item meeple. There are also a couple of cool 3D cardboard standees between this and the expansion that just really pop on the table and look really cool to the eye. Now, the expansion Dark War adds in a lot more of what you need from the first game. And in this, the danger levels have totally risen from the first game. There's a couple of little sub things that you can play out in this game that makes it so much crazier. There are these caravans traveling around the lands, and they're going to get destroyed. They're going to get picked off, and you got to protect them. So that is the current list of the games. A quick little blurb for you of what the games are about, what themes they fit into, how many people they play. If any of these are something that you enjoy to begin with, if you enjoy sci-fi games of exploration, or fantasy games that are 4X, or maybe tactic games, or a twist on the Old West where you're not shooting each other to death, you're actually buying up land, being a greedy landowner kind of guy. They're all here. It's all here. find one of these games that you like, watch some videos on it, read some reviews on it, maybe take it down off the shelf of a board game cafe, play it to the point where you know you are going to want one of these games, maybe more of them. All right, everyone, so that is your quick little beginner's guide to the current list of tiny, epic games by Galen Games. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G with Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. And my friends, I am out of here.